Okay, so I've been in real estate for about 20 years now. And so we buy rentals to flip, we buy them and we fix them and we sell them. We build from the ground up. We build townhomes and units and houses and warehouses. And we also do rentals, right? So we've done the full gamut of property development and rental and so on. And I'm really, really, really getting into stocks. And people have asked me, well, hey, like you're a real estate guy, why did you get into stocks? And so I want to talk a bit about stocks compared to real estate and what I like about each. And then at the end, I'm going to tell you which one I like more. Okay, so stay tuned because it's important as you go on this journey. Number one thing I like about real estate, leverage, right? Real estate is beautiful in that you can borrow against the property. You can typically put down 5, 10, 15, 20% and borrow the rest. With stocks, you can't do that. Stocks, typically, they'll let you do like 50%, 40%, 60% as a maximum, but generally speaking, it's about 50%, most brokerages. So the leverage that you can get on real estate is much higher than on stocks, okay? So that's a good thing. Of course, more loan equals more risk, and if something goes wrong, then that could be a problem. But I'm just saying, you can have less money. The thing that I really like about real estate is I can improve the property. And what I mean by that is I can go in there, I can build a fence, I can change the roof, I can paint it, I can do those things, I can get the value of the property up. I can't do that with stocks. Because if I own stocks in Coca-Cola or IBM, I can't say to them, hey, don't pay that person to build that fence. I'm going to build it for you and save you some money so that your share price goes up. Can't do that. Right? So I have very little control about what happens with my stocks. I do have a lot more control about what happens to my property. The other thing that I really like about property is it's more passive in nature from the standpoint that there's less that I can see. And this is a funny one for people, right? Property does not go up and down like a yo-yo in the same way that stocks do. I mean, I've had stocks literally halve within a week. Like literally go half within a week from what they're worth. Property doesn't do that. It's a lot more stable. Doesn't mean that it doesn't go down. It does. It goes up and down, but tends to not bounce around as much. And just psychologically for you as an investor, it can be easier to hold a property for a long period of time. It can be much harder to hold a stock for a long period of time. And that's because when you see, a massive loss in your portfolio with the stocks, and the loss is on paper, but it's a loss, right? You're seeing a drop. You go, oh my goodness, is it going to drop to zero, right? Is it going to get really bad? Am I going to lose all my money? You don't see that because the stock market is all about people making transactions every day for the exact same thing that you have. But the problem with the good thing about property, I should say, is you don't have people offering you prices for your property every day, every minute, every second. And so therefore you just go, well, it's worth about this and that's fine. And so because of that, it can be easier to own property over a long period of time. So these are all pluses for property. Here are the things that I really like about stocks. Liquidity. If I was to go and buy a property today, it might take me a month, 2 months to do that transaction, right? I have to do inspections. I've got to get people to come and look at it. I have to, deal with various lawyers and closings and settlements and whatever else with the bank to get the loan and blah, 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 blah. It's a huge process to buy a property. It's also the same process to sell it, right? I have to find the buyer. I have to list it. I have to get an agent to do all that stuff, right? And then the closing process, right? A $300,000 house, I could buy it. It might take me a month, month and a half. To sell it might take me a month, month and a half. It might be like 2 to 3 months to buy it and sell it. I can buy $300,000 worth of stock this second, and literally a second later, I can sell it. Now, whether that's a good idea or not, it's a separate issue. But I could sell it so quickly, and it cost me virtually nothing. The cost to buy and the cost to sell real estate are huge. I mean, just the cost to sell, 6% for the agent, plus the closing cost and so on. And to buy, again, it cost me maybe 2% or something like that, depending on what the closing costs are and other things. So basically on any property purchase from the start to the end, you're probably going to be somewhere between 8 and 10% in the cost just to get in and get out of that property. I don't have that cost with stocks. So that's a benefit for stocks. The other thing I really like about stocks is I can sell part of my asset, right? If I've got a house and I need some quick money, I can't sell a bedroom off, right? I can't sell the driveway. I can't sell part of the roof. I have to either go and sell the whole house, or hopefully if I qualify for a loan, I can go and refinance the whole property and then get some of the money out. With stocks, if I've got $100,000 worth of stocks, I can sell $5 worth of stocks, $1,000 worth of stocks, $15,000 worth of stocks, right? I can do that. And so that gives me a flexibility and a freedom for very low cost that's able to be done right away if I need some quick cash, which I cannot do with real estate. So I really like that. And the last thing, there's lots of things, but the last thing I really, really like about stocks is that it's 100%. and I struggle to say this, right? But it's a lot less of a headache from a management standpoint. And what I mean is that if I bought a good company that I'm comfortable with long term, there's really nothing else that I need to do. If I buy a property, I've got to pay property taxes. I've got to insure it. I've got to make sure that that property is being maintained. I've got to do tenant inspections, or my manager does. I've got to deal with all of that stuff, which is an ongoing thing of either cost or management. If I buy stock in Apple, I mean, yes, it's going to affect me based on how Apple does. But my point is, once I've bought stock in Apple, I'm never going to be asked for another dollar. If Apple has a fire in one of their plants, I don't have to make an insurance claim. If Apple has a problem with the executive, they're going to fire him. And if that executive sues the company, they're going to deal with it. I don't have to go to court, right? I'm never going to be asked for another dollar, and I'm never going to be asked to get involved in Apple, right? They're going to run their business, and I will benefit or suffer based on that. But it just means that I can buy that stock and then just forget about it, right? As far as long-term investment. You can't do that with a property. You do have to be involved on a day-to-day basis. And so depending on where you are at in life, you're going to choose real estate or stock, for what you want. Generally speaking, for me, the more time that I spend invested in stocks and invested in property, I am liking the stock market more. Now, there are things that I don't like about it, and there are things that I think property does better. And so if you have the ability, I would be invested in both, because diversification is really important. Because you know what? There'll be times when property does really well and the stock market doesn't do so well. There'll be times when property doesn't do that well, but the stock market's going great. So you want to be diversified, and I will continue to do that. But if you ask me to pick between the two, I will say that as more time goes on, I'm liking the stock market more and more because of the flexibility, the freedom, lack of headache in terms of management. And the number one thing that I'm seeing more and more is the politicization of real estate. Real estate is becoming more political. Governments are getting involved. They're telling you what you can and can't do with your property. They're forcing you to allow things that you may not want to allow. They're stopping you from evicting tenants. And again, this may be temporary now with COVID, but I'm just saying there's just things that the government is doing with rental property that they're not doing with stocks, and it'll be very hard to do with stocks anyway. And, if I go overseas, let's say I decide to move overseas for 5 years, I can leave my stock portfolio there and I can manage it from overseas if I need to. I can't do that with real estate, because if I ever have to go to the property for some reason, that's a plane flight. So these are just things that they're going to suit your lifestyle more or less. They're going to be better for you or not as good for you. But I wanted to give you the different reasons based on what I'm seeing and what I'm doing. And this may help you as you form your own opinion about whether you want to be in real estate or stock. So like I said, I like them both. I've made money with both. I'm more moving towards the stock market now for those reasons. I'm not saying you should, but if I can give you both perspectives, that may help you as you make your own decisions. See you next time.